Good afternoon, everybody. So, now in this session, we'll be looking at a few important topics that were asked in yesterday's exam as far as both shifts with regard to paper 1 are concerned. So, that will be the main thing that we'll be looking at right now. So, I've basically picked up various important topics and concepts from which questions were asked in the examination. So yes, we'll start by talking about DA. DI. Now, data interpretation basically was a very easy unit as far as both the sessions were concerned. In fact, so yes, the shift that happened in the morning was based on questions. The question was like you had to find you were given the data of students who have appeared and passed in an exam, and you had to find total difference, average, least value, ratio, and also the percentage. The next question was with regard to web browser, and this question was where you had to find what a web browser is. Now, towards the end, I'll be also talking about the similarities between these two shifts. However, reading comprehension was also sort of easy. However, there were also students who mentioned to me that it was quite challenging. You had a question based on B.F. Skinner's theory of reinforcement. The next question was with regard to sampling. Now, this is the sort of a very important and mandatory question from research methodology or research aptitude chapter as far as paper 1 is concerned. Then you had questions based on research steps, research tools, research types as well as methods. Now again, research types is something that will be there in almost all the shifts or has been there in almost all the shifts. Now again, this is something very important, so please look at research types as well. Then we had a question on direction and also a question based on age. Now as far as this problem on age was concerned, you had a question. I'll just read out the question to you. The product of the age of Suji and Shishti is 240. So that's what the problem states. So probably if you consider them as x and y, x into y is 240. And if Shishti's age is twice and more than 4 years of Suji, you have to find Shishti's age. So as far as the second statement says, if Shishti's age is twice, so say consider we'll take x as Suji's age and y as Shrishti's age. So y is actually equal to 2 times, which is twice of Suji's age plus 4, because it says more than 4 years. So of course, yeah, we'll consider it in this fashion. So now you have these two equations. All that you have to do is substitute your options. You will probably have an option that says 10 comma 24 or 24 comma 10 or a few other options as well. So if you have to substitute these options here, you will actually arrive at a combination of 24 and 10. But then if you have to find out which of the following is the right answer, then probably you know that Shishti's age is actually a bit higher compared to Suji's age. So that's how you will probably arrive at the answer. But however, here in this question, you just have to find out Shishti's age. So yes, if in case you do the substitution method in this equation, then probably you will be able to arrive at the right answer. The next question was pertaining to levels of teaching. Now, even earlier in our discussions, we are told that there will probably be a question based on levels of teaching. So yeah, that's the same case here too. We had a question based on levels of teaching. So please look at the various levels of teaching, MLT, ULT as well as RLT, because this is again an important topic, and there's also a video in the channel that I've made on the various levels of teaching. So please check that video as well. And another important question which has been there in almost most of the shifts is based on student-centered learning teaching methods as well as learning methods. So yes, student-centered learning is something that's been the focus of as far as this exam and teaching aptitude unit is concerned. So please look at that unit as well. And there was another question with regard to formative evaluation. Now, talking about formative evaluation, we know that all formative assessments they are things that happen in between each class, and they are also assessments for learning. They actually help in the process of learning, unlike summative assessments, which are assessments of learning, wherein they simply measure what you have learnt as a learner. However, formative assessments, by way of happening throughout a session, they ensure that the student learns a particular concept in a better fashion. And then again, you have this mandatory question which is on classroom communication. Again, this is something that I had mentioned in one of the earlier videos as well, because this is of the sort of a must read portion as far as communication is concerned. The next thing is with regard to hypothesis. You need to know the various types of hypothesis and variables, and of course the characteristics of hypothesis and variables as well. Now, talking about hypothesis, I had mentioned earlier also that hypothesis is nothing but a logical guess of what will probably be the outcome of your research. Next is URL. Earlier on also we had full forms. So likewise in this exam we had the full form. You were asked the full form of URL, which is nothing but Uniform Resource Locator. Another question was pertaining to RAM and cache memory. Now, talking about RAM and cache memory, again, this is something that we need to know. Now, there's basically a hierarchy based on which the whole thing functions. Yes, so these are various levels as far as learning or sorry memory is concerned. You could remember them as the first one being register, and then you have cache memory, and then you have RAM, and finally you have secondary storage. So as far as data storage is concerned, this is the order in which it actually appears. And I mean, it basically moves. This is the highest point, and this is the lowest point in terms of data storage. But as far as speed is concerned, it is in the reverse fashion, because with regard to speed, it means to say that registers have high speed, and there is the flash memory or the secondary memory with the lowest speed. So yeah, this is how it moves with regard to speed and with regard to storage. So yes, these are the various questions. Now moving on, we look at environment as well. Now with regard to environment, you had this question on dissolved oxygen. Now dissolved oxygen is something that is common in aquatic organisms or aquatic creatures. So among the various options, you had the various options as human, animals, fish and crops. The answer is fish, because dissolved oxygen is essential for the survival of fish. And the RAM, this question on RAM, again, RAM is located in the motherboard. So motherboard is the answer. RAM is located in the motherboard. The next is an expansion of NEAT. Now this is again something that was asked in one of the earlier shifts even. So NEAT is nothing but what you call as the association that national agencies and organizations have with other technologically advanced companies in order to include artificial intelligence as well as an important component, and for customization of education in terms of learning at the higher education level. So the expansion of NEAT is National Education Alliance for Technology. So yeah, this is again a question from one of the earlier shifts. Now this question, again a reasoning and assertion question, was based on geometry, and the question was more specifically based on angles. And there was this other question which reads, where is the International University of Yoga for Yoga Sciences? And the answer is Bangalore. because this university is something that was newly founded and it is present in Bangalore. So yes, now we're moving on to talking about the second shift and all those questions that were asked in the second shift. Now again, this is based on the memory of students, so there might not be a one-to-one correspondence, but it will probably match around 80 to 90% of questions that were there in the paper. So yes, again here is something on DI. It is about how students, I mean it just talked about students who have passed in a competitive exam, and then you had to find out percentage, average, and also a ratio, total number of students, and so on and so forth. So these were the major things that were asked with regard to DI. And another question was on direction sense. Now this is similar to the morning shift as well, because morning shift also we had a question on direction sense. So yes, the next question is a calendar problem. It says that the 1st of January is a Monday, so you have to find out what 1st of January the next year would be. So here you have 2007 and here you have 2008. So you have to find out what it would be. So the general principle is that in case it is not a leap year, then if you add 365 days, then the day will actually eventually be the next day, which is nothing but Tuesday. So yeah, in case it is not a leap year, then you have to just, it is just a shortcut, wherein in case it's not a leap year or there are no leap years in between the span that is given, then probably you could simply choose the next day that comes after Monday. If there are leap years, then probably you will have to add one day, or in case there are more than two leap years in the span that is given, you will probably have to add 2 days. So yeah, that's how you work out these problems based on calendar. And talking about direction sense, again there is a video in the channel wherein there are tips and tricks as to how you should approach these problems based on direction sense. And the next question was arranging these components, these various components in the form of their memory levels. So yeah, again this is something very obvious, because GB is something that ranks, this TB is something that ranks first, GB comes second, and then you have MB, and then you have KB. So this is the order in which you actually arrange these various memory levels. So please make note of the various hierarchical levels as well, starting from bit going on to byte, and also kilobyte, megabyte, and so on and so forth. Please look at all of them as well. So you could be asked in any order. I mean, you might have to rank it from lowest to the highest, or from highest to the lowest. So anything might be possible. Now moving on, you have this question on this question is basically a letter series question. Yes, this question is basically a letter series question. You have the series over here. It says, yeah, just a minute. Yeah, it says MOQS. So now you have to find out the name of the fifth son. So it is MNOPQRSTU. So that's the alphabet order. So now you have M in the answer, and then N is left out, you have O, P is left out, you have Q, R is left out, you have S, T is left out, you have U. So if you go by this order, then the name of the fifth son is U. So that is exactly the answer of this particular question. So the name of the fifth son is U. Yes, there was another question based on seating arrangement. Now this is something new, because yeah, it's actually there in the syllabus, but then there have never been questions on seating arrangement in most of the exams. So yeah, you had questions based on seating arrangement as well as clock. And with regard to clock, you had to find out the degree that it forms when it is 2:15. So when it is 215, what is the degree was the question, and the answer to this question is 22.5 degrees or 22 and a half degrees. Okay, so this is the question. The next question was with regard to criterion reference tests. So criterion reference tests are those in which you have a set criteria, and if in case you meet up to those criteria, then you will be declared as somebody who has cleared the exam. So in schools we have this criteria of having a 40% score that is mandatory. So such tests are all criterion referenced tests. The next question was with regard to climate change performance index. Yes, again, ranking becomes very important. You need to know the ranking of India with regard to various environmental conventions and parameters as well. So, with regard to climate change performance index, India ranks ninth. So, that's a piece of information. Then you had a question on waste management. Like in the morning shift, you had a question based on sewage and the various gases that are emitted from sewage. You had a question based on waste management in the evening shift as well. And there was a question on Kotari Commission and also Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement. I had spoken to you about them in the video which we had done a day prior to the exam. So hope you've done this question well as the upcoming question, which is International Solar Alliance. I had told you that this is again important because India plays a very important role in International Solar Alliance. And as far as ICT is concerned, you had this question where you had to find the output devices and also you had to match the software. So you had various options. Also, one of them was MS Word. So now MS Word or MS Office, you know that it is a software. So and then also you had web web browsers like Google, and also we know the various input and output devices. So in an earlier exam also you had been asked of joystick, and joystick is basically an input device. So yeah, that's one thing that was asked in one of the earlier shifts as well. So please look at the various input and output devices, the names of softwares, web browsers. So they might also be potential areas from which you could have questions in the upcoming exam as well. So with this, we have come to the end of this session. We have also got a few other questions. And yeah, I thought I would just mention the important topics to you all. So these were the various topics from which we had questions in this particular examination. Now, yeah, thank you all. Thank you all for your patient listening. If in case there's something that you would like to ask, please mention in the comment section. And also in case you would like to join our courses for the upcoming classes, please do feel free to call the number which is there on your slide or just send in a mail to the mail ID which is up on your slide. And thank you all for your patient listening. So I'll meet you tomorrow again. I'll meet you again after the next exam, soon after the next exam with another set of analysis pertaining to paper 1. Thank you all.